a curar.
¿A dónde, cuñado?
En Dolores, Guanajuato, y cometió la locura que no llegó en el curato.
Me dicen que no hay caimán y en las plazas más cercanas.
Me dice que no hay caimán en la poza más cercana.
Me dicen que no hay caimán y en las plazas más cercanas. Ayer que me fui a bañar,
¿A dónde?
acompañando a tu hermano,
Vétale.
allí me encontré el caimán y bañando con la caimana.
Hi, welcome to Entre Nosotros on CCP TV, the Emmy-nominated educational channel of Community College of Philadelphia. I'm your host, Gilberto Gonzalez. Today, my guest is Jacqueline Rocco. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no, you're welcome. Thank you for coming. So let's just start from the beginning. Like, how did you and your family come to the region of Philadelphia?
Well, I have to say that I'm Puerto Rican and half Dominican, so I was born in Puerto Rico. And as early as 2 years old, my parents decided to leave the island and come straight to New York.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and so in New York, they stayed for a good 3 years, and they worked at factories. At that time, it was only my sister and I do have a twin. So my sister and I were born with one more sister. And I guess it didn't work out because it was probably too expensive for them to stay there. So from there, we went from New York to Philadelphia, and then here, we actually stayed here, and I was raised here in Philadelphia, North Philly to be exact.
In North Philly. Wow. So now you're in Philadelphia, like you went to the school district here.
I
and
did.
How was that experience?
Well, when we first arrived here from the island, of course, we didn't speak any English,
Wow.
you know, so that was a challenge because as early as starting kindergarten, I noticed the difference between the students in the classroom and myself, you know, not being able to understand them, different culture altogether, just being in the classroom with students.
Was it difficult?
It was difficult for me personally because we didn't speak English, like I said, and so as soon as they discovered that, you know, we were not moving forward, if you will, as a student in this, you know, in the classroom, they placed us in ESL. At the time, it wasn't called ESL; it was called ESOL.
Oh, okay.
So ESOL was a bunch of Puerto Rican kids that came from the island were put in one classroom,
Wow.
and everyone spoke Spanish. So the chances of us learning English was very slim.
Wow, really? So it wasn't like
Yes.
dual immersion? It wasn't like I know, I think today they have dual immersion, but
Today they have, bilingual education, dual immersion. They have a lot of better things than they had when I was growing up. So for me to learn English, it took me a very long time because of ESOL. You know, we were in a classroom where most of the day we spoke Spanish. We were only included into the, you know, extracurricular, courses like gym, art, music. Besides recess, you're with the other kids, you know. But other than that, you're still in the classroom with the rest of the other kids that spoke only Spanish.
so different Latinos have different experiences with the different cultures. How was your experience with the culture here in Philadelphia?
Well, I know when we first arrived here, my father was involved in a lot of politics, and he really liked just being involved in that circle. And I know the first thing that I remember him telling us when I was very young was not to say that we were Dominican. We had
really?
to
Oh.
literally deny our Dominican side and just say that we were Puerto Rican. And a lot of it had to do with the racism that was going on. I think it was a bit more profound then than it is now. A lot of Dominicans were outcast and stigmatized because they were considered and treated like African Americans are in this country. So we had to literally just say that we were Puerto Ricans. Even my father, who looks Dominican, you know, so he had to kind of say he was Puerto Rican as well. And just by us switching that for that moment for a good decade, I mean, there's still people that I know today do not know that I'm Dominican, you know.
Wow.
People still think that, you know, I'm only Puerto Rican. And that was a side of us that I think that it was hard for me because I didn't know what that meant being so young, but I know that I had to do it. And as I got older and started to discover more of my other side, like I said, my Dominican side was when I was like, wow, I cannot believe that I had to do this, you know. And it did affect my family. Like, I have sisters today that still say they're not Dominican, you know.
Really? I think it's time. I think it's time that it's okay to be Puerto Rican. It's okay to be Dominican. It's okay to be Colombian.
It is.
I mean, we need to embrace the differences and embrace what we have alike. You know what I mean?
And it's funny, I don't think so much with my sisters that it's like, not that they don't want to be, it's just they still think they live that era where my father kind of put that in us, you know. And for me, I've always been curious as to why we have to do that, you know. And as you know, we grew older, I started to understand more. Even though I didn't know the whole picture, I kind of like little by little started putting pieces together and understood that, okay, in order for us to move forward, we have to say, you know, that we are Puerto Rican. Because here in Philadelphia, as you know, the first Puerto Ricans that came, they started establishing themselves here around Spring Garden. And the political scene was very big and it was very important. And if you were not in, you know, you were outcast. So
yeah, I remember for me growing up in Spring Garden, like you could be Panamanian, you could be African American, you could be white, you could be Dominican, whatever. But if you lived in our neighborhood, you were Puerto Rican.
Yeah, you were Puerto Rican, exactly.
That is, you know, for me, it was like, that's why, like, for me, when I first went to, like, a school with all African Americans, I thought they were Puerto Ricans.
Yeah.
But I soon found out that wasn't the case.
You know, it's funny you say that because I remember the very first time I went to Puerto Rico, and mind you, I came when I was very young here. And I did not get a chance to go back to the island until I graduated high school. And when I first went, I literally had a culture shock. I had to sit down and say, oh my God, I've never seen so many Puerto Ricans in one place. Because we have so much diversity here, you know. Your neighborhood is mixed with so many great people, different backgrounds. And then I'm going to the island where everybody's the same culture. It took me a minute. I literally had to sit down and was like, oh my gosh, this is completely different, you know, from what I was used to, you know.
So we're very proud to say you're an alumni of CCP.
Yes.
So just start telling me a little bit about your whole college experience, that transition from high school to college. And
well, I went to Edison High School, and like I said, it took me a long time to learn English. So that kind of put a stamp or a hold, if you will, on my learning. Because I wasn't really outspoken. I couldn't really communicate with teachers or students, you know, and so I was very quiet, believe it or not. I was very quiet growing up.
I wouldn't got that. When you were a student here, you were not quiet.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, I didn't speak the language, so I couldn't really communicate. So throughout my learning years here in Philly, learning English was my goal. You know, and I didn't really get to learn English until, like I said, I got into the 6th grade, and my mom decided to take us out of Esau because she literally noticed by then that, you know, we were not learning English, you know. And so she said, we're going to just take you out and you're going to go straight into full immersion, like English classes, you know. And she did. She put us in there, which was hard for me, you know, personally. And I'm pretty sure it was the same for my sisters. But we made do, you know. I spoke very little broken English, if you will. You know, some words I made out, other words, you know, just kind of went with the flow.
You went the Spanglish thing?
Just the Spanglish, whatever it is that came out of my mouth, you know. So I try my best. But it took me so much longer to comprehend the language, you know. And so when we entered middle school, which was Roberto Clemente Middle School, we went from Stetson to Roberto Clemente, and my English started to get a little bit better, you know. It wasn't like it should be, but it was, you know, I was comprehending, I was speaking more, and so on and so forth. I could honestly say that my English got much better when I was in high school. I was already speaking fluently, you know.
Wow.
But it took me that long, you know, and as a result, you know, I don't feel like I was ever a student, the type of student that I wanted to be, you know, because teachers labeled us, you know, they kept us in the background, you know, or they don't know anymore, or they're any better, or they don't speak, or they don't, whatever the situation was. We were always being pushed aside. So because of that, I think that my learning gap never closed. They just got bigger. You know, there was more and more for me to learn, especially after I graduated high school. I wanted better. I wanted more. I didn't want to be the statistic that everybody sees in the neighborhood, you know, at the time. And I'm pretty sure life is it's a cycle, right? So you'll see the same things no matter what decade we're in as far as music style, you know, just life or what have you. So I didn't want to be a statistic, and I knew that I wanted more than what I was seeing as far as what my neighborhood was showing me, you know. And mind you that my parents still spoke Spanish, you know, they still had, you know, my mom has a 9th grade education. My father, he had first year college education, you know, but never finished, you know. And so having that as a background and trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my own personal life, I didn't really have the support, you know, that I really needed. My parents were supportive of us going to college. You know, they were supportive of us doing more and doing better, but they themselves didn't know how, you know. So I had to figure it out. And mind you, it was my twin and I who graduated high school at the same time.
Wow.
So there was 2 of us trying to figure it out, you know. I made it into Penn State, and my sister made it into community college, you know.
Okay.
And she struggled.
So she was here before you?
She was here before I came, you know. And I made it into Penn State, and I did my first year there, and I struggled my first year because Penn State's a big school. The classes were huge.
You went to Penn State out in State College or Abington? Or?
I went to the one in Abington.
Okay.
And so the classes there were big. You know, the students that attended the school were better prepared, obviously, than I was. You know, I mean, I remember sitting in a grammar class, and something that I was never taught in school is English grammar, you know. And so I never had to write a paper graduating high school. So, you know, I'm sitting in this classroom and they're talking about run-ons and fragment sentences, and I'm like, what? What are they talking about? I had no idea what they were talking about. I was so confused, you know. And I remember walking out of there saying, okay, I need to switch colleges because I'm not going to succeed here, you know. And I remember saying, I'm going to go to community college because I know it's a smaller setting, you know, it's more cozy. I have a better chance of succeeding here than I would at Penn State. And I definitely did not want to do nothing, you know.
Right, and your sister's here. So then
My
you have
sister
kind of
was
like
here.
a support network already.
Yes, yes. And so what happened was I came here the following year, and I had to transition, you know, and really buckle my belt, if you will, you know, to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. And the irony is that I majored in English education. Meaning,
oh, really?
Yes, it's so funny. So I'm trying to still figure out my English, and I'm still trying to, you know, get better at it as far as everything that I wasn't taught, you know, in high school. And this is where I did it. I remember I had this, I wish I could remember his name. He was really good. From community college, I had this English teacher who was a department head at the time. And I think, I always say, I have angels that always protect me, because I feel like he took me under his wing. And he literally was like, okay, Jackie, let me show you what you need to do.
Very cool.
He basically like showed me so much, you know, taught me how to write a paper, how to outline a paper, you know. And at that time, I had already met who's my husband now, you know, and he literally also will pick up on whatever, you know, the teacher was teaching me, and he will literally show me how to, you know.
So you met him here?
No, my husband went to Penn State.
Oh, he went to Penn. Oh, so you met him at Penn State?
I met him at Penn State, you know, and so when I was transitioning out, he was also transitioning up to the main campus, you know, and so it just happened to work out, and I was so focused on trying to get my education, because I definitely did not want to quit on myself, you know, and I wanted to push forward with college, you know.
So your experience here at CCP was positive then?
It was very positive. This is where I can say I grew. You know, I was given the opportunity to really learn the stuff that I did not learn in high school, and that I definitely was not going to be able to pick up at Penn State because it was such a big school, you know. But here I felt, because the classrooms were much smaller, they were cozier, I was able to meet with the teacher when I needed to. I was able to go to tutoring when I needed to. And I met a good circle of friends who were, you know, other Latinos that were serious about being a student, you know. And so that helped me a lot, you know.
Yeah, like a support network.
I did.
That was here. Yeah.
I did, you know, and when when I got home, that also, my husband was there, like, okay, what do I need to help you with, you know?
When you were here, you were very active in the clubs.
I was.
And you guys did events and stuff like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. That was my first exposure to, organizational work, community service, and stuff like that. So that was very, very good.
So after CCP, you went to?
I went to Temple University, you
Okay.
know, and at Temple, I was able to. It was funny. I look back at it now, and I was able to breeze through the 2 years that I had left of college because I had gained so much knowledge and skill here.
Nice.
That I was able to do my papers without crying. I would cry when I had to write a paper, seriously, because I didn't have the skill, you know.
Right,
So
right.
by the time I got to Temple, I was able to take the lead on a lot of stuff that I, was given to me, you know. So
You have the degrees in?
So right now, currently, I have an associate's from community college, as you know, in education, bachelor's in English education from Temple. I have my first master's from Temple, African Studies, my second master's in multicultural education, and my third master's in organizational leadership.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's just
Yeah.
amazing.
And I think I have to say I have to thank God for just having that motivation to move forward. You know what I mean, and to
Right.
want more. You know, I added a third language. You know, given that I was struggling with my first trying to learn English, I
Right.
managed to pick up French along the way.
Cool.
So I think that in all of that is for me personal gain. It's not something that I had to kind of tell myself I can do it. You know, it's when you put your mind to something, you really want something, you can do it. You know, and you
Right.
can't allow something or somebody or a situation to keep you from moving forward because
Right.
you'll stay stuck. You know, and you will never move forward if you start. You know, how you say, playing the violin on that sympathy. You know, like
Right,
I
yeah.
want people to feel sorry for me. No, you just got to keep the ball moving.
Keep going. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's an amazing journey.
Yeah, thank
So,
you.
so now, right, like you're very active in communities. You're on different boards.
I am.
So tell me a little bit about your activism and what gave birth to that activism.
What's funny, being the oldest of all my siblings, I've always had a leadership role, if you will. I've always had to be the one to take care of things in the house, take care of my sisters, you know. I have a brother that's mentally challenged, so I had to help my mom with him, you know. So I think I always had like that leadership skills, the leadership, you know, in me, you know.
Right.
I just really didn't know how to bring it out, you know, and like I said before, I was very shy growing up, so I will keep myself from doing things that would, you know, call my attention, you know, call people's attention to me. So I started off, I remember living in South Philly when I first got married, and I became a block captain.
Wow.
Yeah, I became a block captain. I literally was a block captain for a good 10 years
Very
in the
good.
neighborhood. And we put up new trees, we painted, we made, we did murals.
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 Yeah.
We had community fairs, you know, like block parties. We had an array of stuff, cleanups, and so when I noticed that I can do that, you know, I became a part of Norris Square Civic Association, AmeriCorps. You know,
Right.
I joined all that stuff. I did all that stuff at one point in my life and started to develop skills that I didn't even really, I was just tapping on and didn't understand that I really had it already. It's just
Right.
kind of like, you know, just growing into it and teaching myself more. And eventually, I guess, even as an undergrad, I've always wanted to start something of my own. You know, I did because the struggle I went through, there wasn't a support place for me to go to and say, here, let me go to this organization that can give me a mentor for this, or someone who can sit with me and actually teach me these basic things, you know. It was always a struggle, you know, and then when I was referred to some place, they didn't do it, you know, and it's like,
Right.
I
So
don't know.
so your volunteer work and your experience brought you to where you are today with your
Yes.
organization. What's the
Yes.
name of your organization?
My organization is called Edu Group of PA.
Edu Group of PA. And what do you guys focus on? And
So what we focus on, we actually bridge the gap today for a better tomorrow, which means we work with students from the ages of 16 to 22. And the reason being is because many students, like myself at the time, are either getting ready to graduate high school or have graduated high school, and a lot of them are kept in lingo. They don't have the resources, the knowledge, the support to really understand what's next,
Right.
you know? And so as a result, a lot of them just live life. They go and they do what they think is best for them at that given time because they don't really have that support to help
Right.
them move forward. So with the organization, what we do is we help them by starting them off with an empowerment workshop. And so the empowerment workshop consists of 6 to 8 weeks, which is where we literally help them break the self and rebuild the self.
Cool.
You know, and help them understand who they are as individuals versus followers. And throughout the whole thing, they're being assessed so that we can understand where their strengths and their weaknesses are, and so on and so forth. But there's a second component to the organization where we literally introduce them to the path to success piece, and this is where they will get mentors assigned to them.
And the mentors are in their schools or community?
Well, the mentors are leaders, anyone that's interested in mentorship, you know, our students, you know, and they are literally introduced to the Path to Success piece, which consists of 5 components, which is career planning, higher education, vocational education, career entrepreneur leadership,
Right.
and the armed forces. And so they have choices. So depending on what their assessments, the results are, we talk to them about what possibilities they have. But they're given mentors from the very beginning and to the end.
Wow. So, again, like what sounds like just an amazing organization that's really going to impact. So, part of what made this happen was your experience and
my personal experience. I just went through so much heartache, you know,
Really?
and where I felt like if I had a place that can kind of help me along the way, it would have made things a lot easier for me, you know. And I have to say that we're also affiliated with the Dominican Republic, you know.
Really?
Yes.
So you're doing work in the Dominican Republic?
So yes, we do charity work, and we actually are carrying out our first empowerment workshop this August of 2016 in the Dominican Republic. So our goal is to get these kids to become ambassadors and become the leaders of tomorrow.
So at the end of the day, what's the accomplishment going to be for these kids?
Well, to teach them that they can be empowered with anything they decide to do in life. You know, if you want to do something, you can do it. You know, if you have the right support and guidance, you can succeed anything. You can do anything you want in life. You know, and don't ever let anything stop you. Because for me, I cannot say that if I paid attention to all of my barriers that I had, I would not be where I'm at today. You know, so I had to kind of persevere and move forward.
So the kids today, when they face these barriers, now they have a choice. Now they have a place that they can come and say, hey, you know, help me out. That's a good support system too.
Yes, and you know, and my goal is to, you know, create that family atmosphere, you know, so they can understand that, you know, you can come and not only will you get support, but you can talk to us about anything. You know, we can help you along the way, you know, and it's just to give them that feeling,
beautiful.
that support. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I want to be a part of the organization.
Yeah. And it's funny because even though I'm the president of the organization, I make sure that I'm hands-on, you know.
Very good.
I just don't want to be, you know, in the back of the scene of everything. I want to be present.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Because that's actually something that's wrong with some organizations is that they're kind of disconnected from the service.
Yeah.
But you have direct contact to the service.
Yes, I try to be hands-on, and a lot of it I believe is who I am as an individual, but too I'm passionate about teaching. I can't disconnect myself from that. So I want to be hands-on. I want to be able to, you know, do some of the things that we offer as an organization with the students.
Where is the most need for this?
North Philly, South Philly, Montgomery County, Conshohocken, Norristown, East Norriton. We're based on both counties, Philadelphia County and Montgomery County. Anyone that falls under the federal poverty guideline is qualified.
In this area, it's a lot.
It's amazing to see the successes, you know, of students. We had kids come here to community college that wanted to come here, and we helped them enroll and everything.
Oh, that's beautiful,
yeah,
man.
so
We got to stay connected then, definitely.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So it's just, you know, I tell them my experience. You just got to persevere. And, you know, we've had a couple of students that this is why we have the mentors that will get scared. Oh, I don't know if I can do this. It's a scare. And I was like, no, we have mentors. So, you know, the mentor's job is to make sure they have the students feel secure. Where do you want to meet? What can I help you with? What is it that you don't understand? Blah, 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 and, and give them that support, because I know that when I was going through my stuff, I wish I had that type of support where I can say, oh, let me have somebody to call, I had to go and create my own support, and that took time for me to figure that out, and put it together,
Well, that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank Jacqueline Rocco for joining me today, and I also want to thank you, the viewers, for tuning in. You have been watching Entre Nosotros on CCP TV, the Emmy-nominated educational channel of Community College of Philadelphia. I'm your host, Gilberto Gonzalez. See you next time.